Okay, so this video is part 2. Remember to change my voice. I urge you to watch part 1. Okay, so Isaiah 51, salvation for Zion. Remember, they're supposed to invoke the name of God in truth and righteousness. Listen to me, you who pursue righteousness and who seek the Lord. Look to the rock from which you were cut, and to the quarry from which you were hewn. Look to Abraham your father, and to Sarah, who gave you birth. When I called him, he was only a man, and I blessed him and made him many. The Lord will surely comfort Zion, and will look with compassion on all her ruins. He will make her deserts like Eden, her wastelands like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and the sound of singing. Listen to me, my people. Hear me, my nation. Instruction will go out from me. My justice will become a light to the nations. My righteousness draws near speedily. My salvation is on the way, and my arm will be justice to the nations. The islands will look to me and wait in hope for my arm. So again, it says those who are pursuing righteousness and seeking the Lord, okay, instruction will come from him, and his justice will be a light. That's how you know, right? His righteousness draws near speedily. His salvation is on the way, and his arm will bring justice to the nations, is what is being said here. The islands will look to me and wait and hope for my arm. So it says people, even on islands, right, will look to God and wait for him, okay, in hope. Okay, but now not all who call on me will go to heaven, right? Many will call me on that day and say, Lord, Lord, didn't we cast out demons and do miracles and so on and so forth in your name? And he says, no, I never knew you, right? Because they did not call on the name of God in truth or righteousness, as it says in Isaiah 48:1. So the arm also, it has to do with being a warrior, martial arts, divine justice, right? The arm of justice. So a lot of people want me to leave this part out because they worship the devil, right? They don't want God's work to be done. Because, if you're looking for a warrior, and they say, don't say that, so they end up going to the church and being abused by the neo-colonialist state. You see what I'm saying? So verse 6, lift up your eyes to the heavens, look at the earth beneath. The heavens will vanish like smoke, the earth will wear out like a garment, and its inhabitants die like flies. Remember Beelzebub, the lord of the flies? But my salvation will last forever, my righteousness will never fail. So again, I think I ended this, that last video on that part. It says he wants you to die for God, live and die for God, right? All who wish to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted, right? As it says in Paul's letters in the Bible. So it's saying, lift up your eyes to heaven, look at the earth beneath. The heavens will vanish like smoke, the earth will wear out like a garment, and its inhabitants die like flies, right? Jesus said in the New Testament, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words, my actions, the Spirit of God will never pass away. Their salvation will last forever, righteousness will never fail. So people are supposed to become one with the Spirit of righteousness by obeying God through me, and so on and so forth. Okay, 7. Hear me, you who know what is right, you people who have taken my instruction to heart. Do not fear the reproach of mere mortals, be terrified by their insults. So it's saying, you who know that I'm right, when I say that I'm the arm of the Lord, the right hand of God, I'm one with the arm of the Lord, I'm one with the right, I'm the chosen one, the individual, right, chosen to do God's work, okay, to bring you to God, and I'm the last valid king ever. Okay. 8. For the moth will eat them like a garment, the worm will devour them like wool. And in Isaiah it also says that Jacob is the worm. It says, Jacob, you worm. And when you look at the pattern of comparisons and the pattern of the code, that we see, it says in Isaiah 48, I believe it is, only if you paid attention to me, then your peace and your well-being will be like water, the sea, the waves crashing on the beach. Okay, so we see water is being compared to righteousness and peace and well-being. Okay, and in Revelation, the muddied water, right, of the whore that sits on many waters. The water is being compared to people who are doing the wrong thing. So it's the living water of God when people are doing the right thing. Water used in the context of doing the wrong thing is the muddy waters of Satan, of the whore, of the Babylonian system, what have you. Okay. Any questions, put in the comments. All right. So the worm will devour them like wool, but my righteousness will last forever, my salvation through all generations. So he says it twice, right? He says it in verse 6. Okay, my salvation will last forever, my righteousness will never fail. And it says it again in verse 8. But my righteousness will last forever, my salvation through all generations. And you see, this is a recurring theme again and again, all throughout Isaiah. It starts with Isaiah 1 saying the Jews aren't being righteous, they're not being just, they're rebelling against God. It's the main message of Isaiah. The core message is righteousness and justice is what wisdom is, the fruit of righteousness. How do you know someone's righteous? Has to do with moral wisdom, morally precise actions and wisdoms. You know them by their fruits, their works, their deeds. Okay, verse 9. Again, it's going to talk about the arm of the Lord. It says, awake, awake, arm of the Lord, clothe yourself with strength. Awake as in days gone by, as in generations of old. Was it not you who cut Rahab to pieces, who pierced that monster through? Now again, Rahab, okay, and we see this earlier, I think it's Isaiah 27, where it talks about Leviathan. Okay, Rahab is a code word for Egypt. Egypt where it's gone astray. Egypt as ruled by Set. We look at the timeline historically and biblically, okay, when the evil Pharaoh is said to take over. Okay, these were the followers of people who followed the principles of evil in the flesh. Okay, that's the argument being made here. In reality, the good Pharaoh was only in the first dynasty, right? Narmer and his family. Then when they were replaced, the divine order was unfairly replaced, and we see the signs and according to the available evidence, the religion starts to change. Okay, and they start to water down the truths of God, and they start to twist things. They start to go into magic tricks instead of martial arts and so on and so forth, because Horus is a god of war, martial arts, right? He has many weapons, right? He has a sickle-shaped sword, a harp, an Egyptian version of it. It has a special, it's like a Kopesh blade or something. It's been a while, okay? He has spears, and of course there's a flint knives of the early pharaohs, right? He's a martial artist with various weapons for surgical striking and masterful striking with bare minimal to no armor, okay? And of course, Tati being straightforward and honest through the use of the stick. So, the armor of God and not wearing heavy armor or something. Anyway, so it says, awake, 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 arm of the Lord, this warrior arm of the Lord. So, and again, remember it said that the islands wait for the arm of the Lord, right? The arm will bring justice, my arm will bring justice to the nations. The islands will look to me, wait and hope for my arm. Back there in verse 5. Now we see here in verse 9, it says, awake, awake, arm of the Lord, clothe yourself with strength. Awake as in days gone by, as in generations of old. Was it not you who cut Rahab to pieces, who pierced that martial through? Is not the spirit of the martial artist who's right with God that crushed the spirit of the Egyptians who were in rebellion against God? Okay. 10. Was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, who made a road in the depths of the sea, so that the redeemed might cross over, right? Spiritually, right? Moses didn't literally split the Red Sea. It's spiritual, and it has to do with the pattern of explanation that we see and comparisons and figurative speech and parables and what have you. We see that in Proverbs 1, where it talks about the parables and riddles and sayings of the wise. The Bible is like a riddle and a saying, and we're full of sayings and parables, and that is part of how you decode it, if you will. All right. Those the Lord have rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. I, even I, am he who comforts you. Who are you that you fear mere mortals, human beings who are but grass? Again, this overkills at what it's saying back in verse 6 and 7 about how the earth is going to pass away and his righteousness will never pass away. That you're supposed to live and die for God. Isaiah 51:12. I, even I, am he who comforts you. Who are you that you fear mere mortals, human beings who are but grass? Are you some kind of worm? Are you some kind of coward? Are you some kind of subhuman? Why do you fear humans and not God? Why don't you attach yourself to righteousness, right? It's 13. That you forget the Lord your Maker, who stretches out the heavens and who lays the foundations of the earth. That you live in constant terror every day because of the wrath of the oppressor. Notice the word being used here is oppressor, who is bent on destruction. For where is the wrath of the oppressor? He said these people, like the government and the corporate state, military, police, these people in their extended network, gangs and so on, that they use to oppress you, right? Assorted criminal groups, assorted cults, all the cultures you see, rock and roll, rap, you name it, okay? Even classical music, arrogant Prince Humperdinck music, they all come together to oppress you. The cowering prisoners will soon be set free. They will not die in their dungeon, nor will they lack bread. For I am the Lord your God, who stirs up the sea, so that its waves roar. The Lord Almighty is his name. Here's an example of coding. What do they mean by stirring up the sea so the waves roar? Well, there's the literal interpretation, but it pales in comparison to the figurative speech. Okay? Which goes back to it goes back to Isaiah 48, I believe it says, where it talks about righteousness. And your righteousness, your well-being, your peace will be like the sea and the waves. And there's different translations where well-being is translated as righteousness. Okay, and there's a reason for that. If you're not righteous, you're not well. You're El, and the El go to hell like the Canaanite deity El. Okay, so it says, verse 6, lift up your eyes to the heavens. Okay, excuse me. Well, where was I here? The one about the water, right? So it was not you who struck down Rahab. That part where it was talking about the water. All right, here we go. Verse 10. Was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, who made a road in the depths of the sea so that the redeemed might cross over? Right? It dried up the sea of evil and the spirit of evil and the people of evil and spiritually conquered them so the redeemed could come through. Okay? Here at the end of the Bible, where, as I come back, I'm not here to bring people out of Egypt, so to speak, in mass. Okay, I'm here to see if there's any stragglers left behind, by destiny, and then to seal people in hell and their offspring. Okay, so again, that water is compared to how water is being used here. Okay, when it says, "For I am the Lord your God who stirs up the sea so that its waves roar, the Lord Almighty is his name." Another way it's used, it says to the clouds, rain down my righteousness, right? So the clouds, figuratively speaking, raining down the righteousness. So again, the water is righteousness, well-being, justice, the warrior spirit of God, the living warrior spirit of God, the living waters of God. Okay, so to make the waters roar is like a martial art, what they call ki up, right? But ki, they're pagans, and ki is the earth deity. It's really, Ka. It's the spirit of God being, stimulated, being projected, right? So a war cry, a battle cry, right? So I am the Lord who makes the top martial artists, the spirit in the top martial artists roar. You see what I'm saying? I've put my words in your mouth and have covered you with the shadow of my hand. I who set the heavens in place and who laid the foundations of the earth, who say to Zion, you are my people. The cup of the Lord's wrath. Awake, awake, rise up, Jerusalem, who have drunk from the hand of the Lord the cup of his wrath. You who have drained it to its dregs, the goblet that makes people stagger. Among all the children she bore, there was none to take her by the hand. Okay, so none of the people of Israel in the story at this point, they are doing the right thing. It's just the prophet Isaiah declaring to them their rebellion, just like it makes clear from Isaiah from the start, Isaiah 1. These double calamities have come upon you. Who can comfort you? Ruin and destruction, famine and sword. Who can console you? Your children have fainted. They lie at every street corner like antelope caught in the net. They are filled with the wrath of the Lord, with the rebuke of your God. Therefore hear this, you afflicted one, made drunk, but not with wine. This is what the sovereign Lord says, your God who defends his people. See, I have taken out of your hand the cup that made you stagger. From that cup, the goblet of my wrath, you will never drink again. I will put it into the hands of your tormentors, who said to you, fall prostrate that we may walk on you. And you made your back like the ground, like a street to be walked on. So they let them walk all over them. Like we see today, they won't rally to me. Instead, they're letting their oppressors walk all over them. Isaiah 52, really quickly, verse 10. The Lord will lay bare his holy arm in the sight of all nations, and all the ends of the earth will see the salvation of our God. So one way to look at it is he's making it clear. Another way to look at it is he's going to be screened out, right? And all the world will know at that point that righteousness is now gone from the earth. And then it says, depart, go out from there, touch no unclean thing, come out from it, and be pure, you who carry the articles of the Lord's house. But you will not leave in haste or go in flight, for the Lord will go before you. The God of Israel will be your rear guard, the suffering and glory of the servant. Going down to verse 13. See, my servant will act wisely. He will be raised and lifted up and highly exalted, right? So you're supposed to exalt. You're supposed to acknowledge them, the top martial arts, rally and obey God through me. Just as there were many who were appalled at him, his appearance was disfigured beyond that of any human. Okay, so this talks about when Jesus was crucified too, but he's supposed to be exalted, I'm supposed to be exalted. You get it. So he'll sprinkle many nations, and kings will shut their mouths because of him. For what they were not told, they will see, and what they have not heard, they will understand. And referring to Jesus the first time he's crucified in the story. And of course, in the end, when they finally die and go to hell and so on and so forth. Isaiah 53, who has believed our message, and To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? See, the arm of the Lord revealed, laid bare. The islands are looking for it. The arm brings justice. You see the pattern.